So continuing my watching of Preston Sturges films, today I watched the final film that he made with Paramount, although it was released prior to The Great Moment, which was the last release through Paramount. He had filmed A Great Moment 2 years earlier, and they released it super late because Paramount was doing some weird things in the 40s. Hail the Conquering Hero stars Eddie Bracken, who was also the star of his previous film, The Miracle of Morgan's Creek, which is fucking hilarious. And you haven't seen that movie, you should see that movie. And Ella Raines, who is fantastic and mostly known for her work in film noir. Apparently, Paramount wanted Raines out because they didn't think she looked like a small town girl, and they wanted some bigger star power in the film. And Sturges was like, we already announced this casting. I'm sticking with it. GTFO. Then they released, so then he's got this contract, and in the contract it said that he could leave if he was unhappy with the way they were editing his films. So they get a hold of Hail the Conquering Hero. They completely ruin it. It plays terribly in preview audiences. They're like, dude, can you please come back? He's like, all right, you don't even have to pay me. I'm going to fix my movie. He fixes it. We have this great film. He then leaves Paramount. They also released The Great Moment, which apparently was also butchered, and that was his first big flop. And then the rest of his career, you read about it, and you're just like, ugh. And it's all really sad because he did all these great films in a 5-year period. And it's amazing. He also had I think, I haven't seen all of his later films. There's like three or four of them. But he did have one great film later in his career, and that's Unfaithfully Yours. And if that's another one you should see. Preston Sturges is a great, amazing writer, director, producer, and I love him. And I'm glad that I'm finally catching up on some of these films that I had missed because I loved his earlier films so much, and I'd seen them many times. And it's nice to go back and flesh out the filmography. So the plot of Hail the Conquering Hero, now that I've given you some background, is about Eddie Bracken, who is the son of a hero from the First War, who was a Marine hero. So he's gone off and he's going to fight World War II, and he's going to be a hero just like his papa, except it turns out he has chronic hay fever and he gets medically discharged. And he's a little ashamed of this, and so he doesn't go home, and he gets a job in a shipyard in San Diego, and he's really clearly upset about this. And we come in with him drinking in a bar, and he's all upset about his lot in life. Then these 6 Marines show up. They only have 15 cents between them because they've gambled their money away. And Bracken buys them all around in some sandwiches because he, loves Marines, because he's grown up under the shadow of his father, who died in World War I on apparently the day he was born. So, cut to him telling this story to the Marines. One of them has a mama complex and decides that this is some bullshit, that he hasn't seen his mother in a year and that he's making her worry for nothing. And so he calls her and tells her that they're coming home, and so now they have to come up with something. And so they decide to dress him in the fancy uniform and bring him back to his hometown, a hero. And he's just like, this is not okay. And then things spiral, and he gets all kinds of hero treatments that are insane. And eventually they want him to run for mayor, and he's just like, what is happening? And then there's some shenanigans with Ella Raines, who was his fiance, but he was so ashamed, he told the fiance that he had fallen in love with someone else and that she should move on. And so she's got herself engaged with someone else, which is causing more problems. And there's lots of shenanigans. So this is one of the films where Sturges is being very satirical. And he's being satirical of several things. He's being satirical of hero worship. He's being satirical of this reverence for the military beyond everything. And this reverence for mothers and the cult of motherhood. And it's all very biting and at the same time warm, because he's a warm satirist. He's sort of a humanist satirist. Like he's making fun of everyone equally, but he doesn't hate everyone. I don't think. I think he's just very critical of everyone, and of human behavior. And so he shows human behavior and then augments it just enough to show you how bizarre it can be. And this is a great example of that technique. I think he's wonderful. I know there's a Preston Sturges box DVD set that came out like 10 years ago. I don't know if that's still available, but I believe this film was on that. So if that's still available, you should be able to rent it pretty easily. This film came out in August of 1944. It is fantastic. It's, I believe, one of 4 Sturges films that were listed as the 100 funniest films, American films of all time, something like that. It's definitely a great film. Well, he had 4 films that were listed. Let's see. Oh, and in 1944, he was nominated for 2 Best Original Screenplay nominations. He didn't win. He lost to the guy who wrote Wilson. But he was nominated for Hail the Conquering Hero and The Miracle of Morgan's Creek, both of which were his Eddie Bracken films. So the ones on the AFI list are The Lady Eve, Sullivan's Travels, Palm Beach Story, and Miracle of Morgan's Creek. And for The Great McGinty, which was the film I watched last night, he won the inaugural Best Original Screenplay Academy Award, because apparently that category didn't exist until 1940. Who knew? Because nobody wrote scripts before 1940, you know. Anyways, Hail the Conquering Hero. It's a great film. It's from 1944. Preston Sturges is amazing. You should watch all his films. He's great. He's one of the original great hyphenate writer, director, producer dudes. He is worth your time.